Hi there. This is the video for Sunday Spirit. And I will try to keep this a little bit more bright than sometimes. It's very sunny out here. Yeah. And I now have kept a lot of videos up, so I think I will gradually, or soon to come at least, limit that a bit. But I think for you, Jess, I will maybe at least have them up for a week or so. And maybe longer if there are many likes or so. Yeah. And for now, I talked about this in my previous video. I have read about certain things in both a book by Dalai Lama that was very interesting about compassion. Yeah, it takes. Oh, I need to tell you about that, by the way. Is this shaman girl? Let's see now, Sandra. Well, how could I forget it now? I watched a few videos now by her, and I haven't heard about her before, which is strange, because she talks about shamanism, and in one of those, I will put a link, and hopefully that's the one, but she talks about many interesting things in all of those that I've heard now, and one of those she talked about how we can get stuck with images, or like the projection maybe also, but also about how the spirit want to come through and show themselves to us, and that's really not the most important thing, although that is a message and something in that too, but to get stuck with that, spirit is much more than that, obviously. So I kind of can relate to that so much, and I oftentimes call myself different things, but usually you shouldn't actually call yourself a shaman. but I've always been, so yeah, and I know that. So anyways, usually I call myself a psychic medium. Actually, it would be better with the medium side, because I seldom do things just for the I don't search for specific things myself. Most of the time I get guided by spirits to what to reveal or what to see, and so, because not everything is good to see even. So I think what is important and what is needed will reveal itself in the right time, and so. So also the psychic, although I know that too, that side, and usually it's spontaneous glimpses that I get, but still I can travel and see things also. Yeah, but I so much love the way and the kind of strong but humble attitude of her. It's something that really resonated with me very much, her ways. So I will put a link to her. Very well known, apparently. And I don't know how I missed out on her. I also thought about that. The whole shaman is what I mean, as a medium or psychic, it's something you do. I mean, also as a medium, you kind of always have some extra sensitivity, and some people kind of have it tuned on more or less all the time, I guess, or turned on, or what to say. I mean, they may see auras and so on all the time. I did for a while, but I trained it away, so to speak, so I don't see it all the time now. But then again, I realized later that I could really have use of that, though. Although I sense things, I oftentimes give others the benefit of a doubt for way too long often. And so if I then had kept that site constantly, I could turn it on now also and have it on more, and I will probably go in that direction. Then I would have seen clearer, let's say. But anyways, it's something you use, kind of. It's a practice you do, while being a shaman is something you are, and that's the thing. She also talked about that. Maybe that was not in the same link there, but about how that is something you are. You cannot become a shaman. You are that. You can use shamanic techniques. Everyone can learn those techniques and work with them, but you cannot become one, because you are or you aren't. And I clearly am, and always was, so in this lifetime anyways. And hey. Yeah. Oj. Someone is talking to me. Another spirit here. Yeah. Anyway, so what else about that? Oh, now she talks all the time. Playful. Yeah. She wants to play. Concentrate. So I really, there were several things there that I knew, but I didn't hear them expressed by someone who worked in this field for so long. And also that I use that all the time. Maybe that is not so apparent, but I do constantly heal to several people every day. And previously I only sent healing to one each day. No, not one each day, one at a time. I mean, maybe 15 minutes at a time or so. While I can combine it if they aren't too ill. So, so that's good. I don't get too affected by myself then. And so I can then send to more people, and I do that every day, and also to places now, but I won't go into that today, keeping it bright. But maybe I should mention this though, since I mentioned this in a previous video about there was this dark shadow of a woman, and I thought it was connected to someone that still is alive, and so on, and I didn't really connect what this was. And I then learned that, and this probably, I'm not sure though, but I guess that this woman is someone who passed away just a few days ago. And there was someone else who were sitting, waking, by the bed and so on. They took turns, and I didn't know about this, and this person came by here, and so then I suddenly realized that maybe this is the one then, when I heard about that maybe this is the one that I saw. I wasn't always sweetest, but I was drifting out and in and out of consciousness, and followed this other person then. And so I said that if you come by, I need to cleanse your aura or something, so I don't bring that spirit in, or just while going there and sitting there to practice some measures or have some protection things, to just not be too open to carry that energy or that spirit with you. And actually it vanished since I said, but I see you to that. so I haven't seen it since, but still, then I realized that the darkness that I saw in that was probably that this person was so very sick. This woman was dying, yeah. So maybe if someone heard me talking about that, wonder what was up with that now, or is she just nuts? Or anyways, so I think that was what it was about. So that's gone. Yeah. I think I will just read from this book, though. But although this is in Swedish, so I will pick some things and just try to translate them now. If someone wants me to read it in Swedish, some parts of it I can do that too. But yeah, this book that this is from is called A New Earth: Your Inner Purpose. I guess in English then, if I translate it directly from Swedish then. So the interesting part of this, or I haven't read it all together yet actually, but one thing, or the things that I've read so far, everything is interesting, and also I love him. I think he's funny also and so sweet. Yeah. He talks about write about spirituality and religion here. I wonder if there was something else that I wanted to say beforehand, though. I must think about that. No, yeah, maybe another thing also related to Dalai Lama and the compassion and all that. I've always had that feeling as a shaman, because previously in time they had those little village or clan, but still, I mean, it was a great responsibility and so on. But I've always had that sense that I kind of need to, like a motherly sense almost to everyone, and that I need to kind of carry them. I have learned to not do that so much as I did before, and also I have tried to kind of find where is that boundary between, I mean, if I think of all of the world and every individual and everything, as every living thing and everything as in a motherly sense, that would be an awesome compassion to have. I'm not there though, but I guess maybe I've been more so, but yeah, I think it's good to start also, as it says in that book, about gradually working first with those closest, and also yourself. If you lack compassion for yourself, it's not full. So yeah, I think that have been one thing that have been a little bit tricky for me to figure out how to deal with that, since I've had that in that practice, or in that and not only practice but just being. I was like that. And also the greatest, maybe the greatest, at least, shaman would have been Jesus. Took on all the hurts and everything, even whether it's a story that is true or what. But whatever the case, I see him as a super great shaman. Yeah. So, I just thought about that to find those boundaries, also to like find a balance, I guess, between having that compassion and that care and still have boundaries that is healthy for yourself and your environment and so on. Yeah, that have been quite tricky, I guess. So, but and I guess one of the reasons why I haven't used that word too much, because that is so much just who I am, not just what I do. That's what I am. But I also do it all the time. But it's and also I wouldn't charge for it and so on. It's different from although it's like several of those practices are the same, but I have some structure into how I let's say do a mediumship reading or psychic reading such. So that's like I've kind of taken that out of like a little thing by itself. If someone wants that, just although it's part of the shamanic practice, obviously, although I'm more sit and receive where I am at then instead of journeying. And also when it comes to healing and so, of course I can journey and heal, and naturally did long before I learned healing. But oftentimes when people ask me to send healing, I use Reiki, and that's awesome, so it works well. But I mean, it's still part of it, although I don't do it in what is traditionally seen as shamanic, I guess, healing. Yeah, so yeah, but maybe that was my thought. But still listening to her, I felt like even more so that, I should... I mean, labels are, as he also talked about very much in this book, Eckhart, it's really, really not important, and I talk about that myself sometimes, but still you want it to resonate, you want it to feel fully true to yourself anyways. And all of these things are true, I use them, but it's more that I am it rather than I use it or do it or so. Yeah. And also she talks about how it's not a path no one actually willingly probably would choose. Not that I would want anything else than that. But looking back, and who knows what is to come, but looking back, we can affect our future though. But if I look back, I mean, no one would want to trade. I guess there have been struggles, and the path is not easy. It's not an easy one for anyone who is a shaman. So, and also I heard this music, by the way. Maybe I now drift further and further away from this book that I was going to read. But I also heard yesterday that I didn't know that David Bowie, when he once sang in West Berlin and by the wall there, and wall towards east, and he dedicated heroes to those in East Berlin, and how that made them protest, and they got caught by police, lots of them, and everything, and that was the beginning of how they just maybe, I don't know for how long time, I forget easily what I hear, but anyways, just that was like the start of that wall coming down. Such an impact. What? That's so strong. And many musicians talking about that do have that very much, or I guess artists in many ways, but yeah, musicians maybe most. Yeah. Well, it depends, but anyways. So, and also another thing then that I thought about, whoa, that must be like shamanic. I listen to Jordan again that I talk about sometimes, and I kind of start to understand where people feel triggered and upset by him also. But anyways, there was this man, his name was Howard Bloom, not Edward Bloom, though. And I've never heard about him. Seems to be very, very, I don't know, well known, but I talk he seems to at least have I don't know. It feels like I should have heard about him. Anyways, he told certain stories, and Jordan Peterson interviewed him in a video. And maybe I should put a link to that too. I will do that. And this one told about Alice Cooper. This story I'd never heard. That Vince was his name. When a kid, he was, bullied, I guess you could say, or very, beaten and outcast and not liked and very shy, and also he was the favorite of the school teacher as a child, so maybe that was why also he was other kids treated him really, really bad, and he was very lonely and had no friends and so on. And I think about that also. Usually that is part of shaman's path, to be isolated very much at times. Anyways, like the hermit there and all. But so then they used the Ouija board. Now this does not get too bright. I thought about just talking about bright, sunshiny things on this Sunday Spirit, but it's bright though, because how it turned his life around, or how he got help to do so, because he used Ouija board though. I don't remember now. If you listen to the link that I put in the description box, you will hear the true story here, because I forgot, but maybe he was 12, let's say, or something. Then they did that, and a spirit came through that have been his previous life, and he was burned as a witch. I don't remember which century, but when they were burning witches, I assume. That was going on for some time though. But anyways, whether she was a witch or just was burned as one, probably. But anyways, her name was Alice Cooper, and then he kind of that changed his life, I guess, when he got in contact with those parts of himself, the strength, another side of his, you could say, soul, or however you would psychologize that, or no matter how you see it, it still changed his life. But I never knew that. I know, you can't have heard everything, but I feel like, oh wow, why didn't I know about that though? So Alice Cooper was that witch, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now to Eckhart, and maybe it's getting brighter. He is like just a bright star. Yeah. Okay. About spirituality and religion, I may skip a few things here. He talks about the differences then with spirituality and religion, and how beliefs or thoughts that you see as the absolute truth won't make a person spiritual, no matter what those beliefs are, or those you can say in reality, I'm so bad at translating now, but in reality it's this, that the more you make your thoughts, or there is another word here, your conceptions, or your I try to figure that word here, but anyway, the more you make your thoughts to your identity, the more cut off you get from the spiritual dimension in your inner self. Yeah, you can say. Oh gosh, I should have written this down and translated it beforehand, so you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So many religious people are so they stay stuck on that thought level and kind of think that truth is the same as those thoughts, or what you label something as, that would be as well. Now I fill in some things that are my own thoughts also in his book. Sorry Eckhart. But they make claims that they are the only ones who hold on to truth, because subconsciously they try to protect their identity. And he goes further in the book in depth into that, how the ego and our thoughts and how that connects to how we see ourselves and our identity. Yeah. If you don't think exactly as they do or believe the same way, then you're doing wrong. So that's like that's the limits of the ego and the intellect. And not long ago, people felt righteous to kill someone else because of that, and there are still those who do. So, let's see now, and there I've talked about this many times, or meant the same thing anyways, that there have always been islands like of spirituality, even in those religions where dogmas or intellect dominates, and those hierarchies are institutionalized. Those that have tried to suppress those the spirituality within. And I think that's why I never felt comfortable in any frame of it. But so like the mystic path in each of those, for example. And well, I will just skip some here. This is about this new age also, and I'm not so fond of that. With some of that, I mean, I am also. I use lots of it all the time, but some of it really disturb me also. So, I mean, he mentioned a little bit about that have never happened in humanity before that, like, and that such a great in such a grand scale that spirituality outside of those structures have bloomed, you can say. So, as it does now. And also it talks about how I have water here. He talks about how the degree of spirituality have nothing to do with what you believe, really, but with your level of consciousness. And that, in turn, decide how you act in the world or interact with others. And so the consciousness is that's searching for a word. Growing, but yeah, you could say widening, deepening. There is a development of consciousness, and you can see that around a lot. I mean, certain things that were very uncommon before are commonplace now, and also science and so on come along, stumbling sometimes around certain things that mystics and so on knew for a long time ago. But at the same time, the structures or the intensifying of ego or strengthening of the ego is going on. So obviously that also always goes hand in hand, like, because they feel even stronger need to protect those doctrines or what it is, then feel threatened. Their identity feels like they're losing something, you know. So the collective strike back, you know. And some churches, sects, or cults, or religious movements is at their base expressions for this collective ego or ego structures, and as stuck in identifying with their mental positions, like any followers of some politic ideology or something. And actually, he mentioned this Dalai Lama also in his book. He talked about communism, though, as a contrast. Yeah, those who get really stuck in that, defending an ideology, and that leave no space to alternative interpretations of reality, really. So, yeah. But the ego is preset to be dissolved. The ego won't last. So, I will just skip a few pages there. So, I'm not sure about this, though. He mentioned that what is happening now is not that we have a new system of belief or this change, this new earth, and a new religion or spiritual ideology or mythology. It means that we are starting to come closer to the end of mythologies and also ideologies and those belief systems, because the change goes deeper than what is contained in our world of thoughts. So in this new consciousness, it's more like to go beyond thoughts, or to raise this ability to raise above thoughts and reach this dimension within that is infinitely much greater than thought. And I think that is true, though. To me, that is connected also to, that's, to me, the myth or mythologies, actually, you can get stuck or lost in them, but and that's a path in itself, everything is, but they can also really be keys to that. They can unlock things and make you see that. So to me, they're part of this whole rising above, or deeper, or however you would see it. And so we often identify so much with thought. We talk about that a lot. If you ever listen to him, there is a lot, I guess, videos on here on YouTube with him. So, but who am I if I don't think and cling to those thoughts? And just, he would laugh at that I protest against what he says. That is kind of me being really in my thoughts. But anyways, we still have those. Yeah. The one who listened to this, he says, the one who sees this in this book, but you listen to this. So, the consciousness that comes before the thought, that space, that which the thought arises within, or the feeling or sensation or whatever it is. That's what you are. And he also says that ego is nothing more than this identification with the world of form, and that in turn mostly means the thought forms, the forms of our thought forms, the world of thought forms, and he also talks about that evil don't have any reality. It's also relative, like ego's overall, but not absolute reality. And there is a definition he says for that I should talk about bright things. This is not so bright, but yeah, the insight is right. That full identification with the world of form, the physical, mental, and the emotional, that is what evil is. And that in turn result in a complete unconsciousness. Know what to say. That result in you being completely unconscious about the fact that we are all linked together with the wholeness. That we are one with everyone else as well as with Source. And she talks so beautifully about that. This Sandra, the shaman. And that's kind of in Buddhism they would say like I guess they would call it I almost had it in my tongue, another word. It went away. It is a good word for this. It's no, I forget it, and that's good because people actually get sometimes pretty provoked if someone uses that word, as if you belittle them. If you say it's not the same word as naive, but it's maybe there's a reason for me not to remember the word. Whatever. There would probably be a reason for that. This illusion anyways. And when this idea or that about separation, when that's behind everything that we and governs what we think, say and do, what kind of world do we create then? And to find the answer to that, just observe how people behave towards each other, or at least read a history book or watch the news tonight. And if those structures in the human consciousness stay like that, then we will recreate this same world with the same evil and same dysfunction and then gladly comes to this whole a new heaven and a new earth. And also talks about that as also said in Bible and everywhere, but that and I think about it as for example Jesus. Then I mention him a lot lately. I'm so sorry for those who really get triggered by that word or that, so but it's also said there that it's not a place, it's within, and it's about, he says that here too, it's about our inner consciousness. And that's the esoteric meaning of those words. And the earth, that's the heaven then, and the earth, the other side, is the outer manifestation, the physical form that is reflecting our inner consciousness, or heaven then, or hell, depending what's in there. So as he is this new heaven is like a changed consciousness in humanity, and the new earth is this reflection then in the physical world. I think this is super beautiful, and I really can relate to that. To dream in the new world into form is what we are here to do. And some of us are more so, we have that as a calling to do so. many thought pauses here, so you can let it sink in and digest it. No. I still search for that word, but I will stop doing that now. Yeah. So also those, similarly to these changes, there will go on other changes in the Earth itself and in Mother Earth and so on. So while this old consciousness is being dissolved, you can say. Yeah. Shall I go further in this? I think maybe not, actually, because I can come back to that, if so. About the ego and the structure of the ego. Maybe a little bit more. There's a picture of Eckhart here in the back here. He lives in Vancouver in British Columbia. Oh, I would love to live there. I didn't know that. I did not know that. If he lives there now, I don't know, but when he wrote this book. Oh, to meet Eckhart, that would be awesome. Anyways, also there was some other, I think this Howard Bloom also lives in Canada. There are so many great ones, and Jordan from Canada, I guess. Yeah. Anyways, the state of humanity now is this ego, and how words can hypnotically enchant you, and even though you won't speak them, even if they are thoughts, and there is this magical practice, for example, to say one thing and project something else energetically. Usually that can be a good thing to use positively if you want. For example, if you just mention something else and at the same time you send whatever the true message, the loving message is, or healing message, or whatever, meanwhile, although it's not obvious. But it can also go the other way around, and as being sensitive, you feel that immediately, although, you can't address it all the time, because that would be just, you can let, those, when people, I heard that long ago, if someone throws you a ball, let's say, you don't need to catch it, you can just let it pass by. You do not need to play that game, they can play by themselves. So, yeah. Anyways, that's like something that goes on not only by those who are trained or know how to use magic, but those who know much wouldn't send energy much, because they would know that you can transform that energy, so you won't give their power away like that. But I don't know, some people don't know better. Okay, but anyways, yeah. So even the unspoken thoughts really have energy. That certain, if you're sensitive, everyone I think can pick it up, but some people just pick it up subconsciously and don't know it, while some, I'm not saying I always know it, but I think maybe actually always nowadays, whether I let the other person know that or not, my whole system knows. Even in my body, in all kinds of ways, I am quite sensitive. So, and but yeah, many do it, and all of us can understand that kind of silent message, although we may not know how to transform. Both understand how to address it or deal with it, but also just knowing that is a actual practice, a magical practice. Not everyone knows that. So, anyways, and you obviously, as with everything, you can use it in all kinds of ways, in a not so kind way also. Also, not that is a different kind of magic, but I think Makira talks about that in some of her videos about also you can use certain words that are similar to something and with that send a totally different energy than it seemingly is meant, if you understand. Like I don't come up with something now. She had some examples there, but I hope you understand what I mean. Something that can even be the same word, but it can have several meanings, and you may sound like you mean a good thing, but actually you mean something else. I think she had like a phrase of I don't remember. Sorry, but I hope you understand what I mean. Anyways, moving on here. And also this is so fantastic. I mean, you should listen to Eckhart, every one of you, because he's fabulous. I need to put a link to some Eckhart, just if anyone don't bother to search for him and still want to check the links. But maybe I haven't checked this, but I know that I love everything he says, so I don't need to check it myself, really. But when you are lost in your own thoughts or expressed words like outwards also, you can start to believe that when you have defined something with words, then you know what it is. And that's really not true. You only cover the mystery with an etiquette. So nothing, whether it's a bird or a tree or a rock or a human, then can be defined or known fully, because they have immense depth. And when we go under the surface, then we don't only see that everything is linked together, but also that the source to all life, to the source of all life, where we come from. So we can connect with all of these things, with the whole world, with everything, if we don't use words or etiquette for it. But then what do I hear? I just talk. So obviously I use words all the time, but and I love those Zen stories also, when the answers are so clear, but not so clear in words. But the inner being in everything start to talk with you if you do that. This is like shaman practice to me, but anyways, whatever you call it then. And you get that you get a sense of the greatness of all that is. You don't cover the world with words and definitions, but find this, because you then, when you stop doing that and come into that calm space where you go beneath, or some say above words, then you get this feeling of miraculous life, and that have been lost to many, and the depth comes back into your life, and you can see with healthy eyes onto things and not cover them with illusion, you can say. And the greatest miracle is then to experience your own inner being without, before all the words or thoughts or etiquettes or images, and so. And for that to happen, you need to liberate yourself from the what you believe you are, and everything you have identified yourself with. So that's what this book is about, and And the quicker you are to verbally or mentally put etiquettes onto things or situations and so on, the more lifeless and shallow becomes reality, and you become more insensitive to reality and the miracle that is constantly within you and around you. So then, even though you may get more smart or intelligence, the wisdom get lost, and the joy and the love and creativity and life, really. So we need to use words and thoughts, but because they also have their own beauty, but we don't need to be trapped in them. So, because words reduce reality to something that the human mind can understand, but and that's not much. So that can't explain who we are, or the purpose of the universe, or even what a tree or a rock is on a deeper level. So here is about the illusory self. I wonder. Yeah, especially words connected to me. Albert Einstein said that he called the ego, or this idea of who we are, an optical consciousness illusion. And then we continue to go further with the interpretations or other misconceptions then of reality from that idea of ourselves and our thought processes and interactions and relationships and all that becomes a reflection of this illusion of ourselves. Yeah, so we need to kind of peel that off. Well, he goes into how we develop that as children ourselves, me and mine and all that. But I won't go deeper into that, I think. But he says there is no me or self that is separated from the thought processes or the emotions that comes along with that. That is to be unconscious spiritually. And if for example Eckhart say that there is a voice that always continues, like this mental chatter, and it goes on and on, and people say, what voice? And they don't understand that the reply in itself is that voice. Yeah. Like someone like occupied them, like taken them in possession almost. They don't even notice. So and also it tells a little story. I will just say that and then I will end this. When he was 25, he was going to, he very much thought that the intellect was going to be the solution to everything, although that's very much a limitation. But, and he was going to the university there, and meanwhile he was in the subway, and there was some that he thought was nuts woman sitting there talking to herself about, it's not my fault on there, and why do they, and blah, 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 talking loudly for herself, so she was clearly insane, he thought. And then she went off at the same station and walked like 20 meters ahead of him, and he went there, thought that, okay, we are going in the same direction, so I can kind of follow her, and she kept going, talking loudly and defending, and so like the ego really was taking over there. Anyways, or she tried really to defend her vulnerable identity, I guess. Suddenly, or after a while, they came to this university, and she also went there, and he was surprised and thought, no, what's she doing here? She's nuts. and what is she? Is she a student or a teacher or working at the library or what? And she went away in the elevators there, and I don't know if there is a continuation of that story, but he didn't see her again. But then he went into the bathroom, and when he was washing his hands afterwards, he thought for himself that, oh, I'm so glad I'm not like her. And suddenly he realized that he didn't just think it; he said it out loud, and he thought, "Oh, I'm already like her," and that was one of his first realizations about consciousness and how little, how small the divisions is between, or do you say that? Is that the right word? Yeah, between people. Yeah, and that we all have that, and it's just the degree that varies. If someone goes overboard like that and just talk loudly out in the open for themselves, we all have that going on, more or less. But we can change. Yeah, still the word. I want still. How obsessed is that I search for a word, then talking about how unimportant the word is, and then I look for a word, a certain word that I think will define exactly what I mean. Yeah, I will let go of that word. That would be one step in the right direction. Yeah, since I don't even remember it, so that's a good thing. Okay. Yeah, I thought about these Sunday spirits to be even more bright than this one. I try to keep it light. But yeah, everything is good. And Eckhart, if you want things to brighten up and need that, just listen to him. I mean, at least that works for me. He is, as I mentioned about him and also Thich Nhat Hanh, but I think Eckhart is easier for some people anyways, because he don't use any frames like Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, like Thich Nhat Hanh do. And so maybe that can be in someone's way mentally that he those concepts. But anyways, if you need to find some calm and bright space, if I couldn't, hope I can, through my words and my spirit, my light to you, then listen to him. That works for me every time anyway, so. Okay. Well, I will end now then, and thanks for being there, and see you soon. Much, much love.